Hey, real quick, did you know that on July 1st of this year, a major housing law quietly took effect that could literally save some seniors thousands of dollars? And I want to be clear, this is not some tiny tweak to an existing rule that affects 3 people in one county. This law passed the Senate 85-25, then the House passed it 358-32. You cannot find a bipartisan bill in the last couple of years that had this much support and this many teeth. It is a big deal. But here's what bothers me. The news covered it for about 48 hours, threw a bunch of legal language at everyone, and moved on. And that means a lot of people who genuinely need this information. Older homeowners, senior renters, people trying to downsize, people trying to age in place safely, parents who want their kids to actually be able to afford a home someday. Just missed it entirely. So today, we are going to fix that. I've gone through the actual bill, pulled out everything that matters most for older adults, and I'm going to break it down in plain English. No jargon, no confusion, 5 big wins, what they mean for you, what to do about them, and a few things the law got wrong that you deserve to know about too. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to walk away knowing exactly what you are entitled to, what the catches are, and what steps to take this week. Let's get into it. Before we get into the 5 wins, I want to give you 30 seconds of context because it actually makes everything else make more sense. The reason this law exists is that the White House's own economists estimate that the United States has a shortage of roughly 10 million homes. 10 million. That is not a typo. And that shortage is a huge reason why home prices have been rising so fast, why rents keep going up, and why so many seniors feel completely stuck, either in homes that are too big and too expensive to maintain, or in rentals, where they feel powerless against large corporate landlords. This law is the government's attempt to attack that problem from multiple directions at once. Building more homes, protecting renters, helping people age in place, and opening up options for people who want to downsize. It is not perfect. I'll tell you where it falls short, but it is the most serious housing legislation we have seen in years, and older adults have a lot to gain from it. Okay, let's get into the 5 wins. The first big win is one that I think is going to matter most immediately for a lot of people watching this. Because it is about home repairs and aging in place. Let me paint you a picture. You are 74 years old. You have lived in your home for over 30 years. You raised your family there. You know every creak and every floorboard and you want to stay there. But the bathroom has become genuinely dangerous. The tub is slippery. There are no grab bars. And the lighting is bad. The front steps have no railing. The roof has a slow leak you've been managing with a bucket, and somewhere between $8,000 and $15,000 of repairs are standing between you and being able to stay safely in that house on a fixed income. That money might as well be $1 million. This is one of the most common situations my audience deals with. And for too long, the options were basically take on debt, ask family for money, or give up the house. Now, there is a new option. The law establishes what is called a whole home repairs pilot program. Here is what that means in plain English. This is a federally funded program, meaning the money comes from the federal government, and it is designed specifically to help qualifying homeowners, including low-income seniors, address the repairs that are making their homes unsafe or unlivable. What kinds of repairs are we talking about? Grab bars in the bathroom, ramps at the entrance, wider doorways that can accommodate a wheelchair or walker, safer bathrooms, weatherization, which means things like insulation, ceiling drafts, replacing old windows to reduce energy costs and keep the home comfortable year-round, and removal of health hazards like mold, lead paint, or structural dangers. These are not cosmetic upgrades. These are the exact modifications that allow an older adult to stay in their own home safely, independently, and with dignity, instead of being forced into a facility before they are ready. Now, I want to be honest with you about where things stand. This is described as a pilot program in the law, which means it is being tested and rolled out. It is not yet available everywhere on day one, but the funding is there, and the framework is being built. The goal is to get assistance to low-income seniors who are trying to age in place, and actual help is expected to be available through federally funded channels pretty soon. Here is what you should do right now. Contact your local area agency on aging. You can find yours by going to eldercare.acl.gov or calling 1-800-677-1116. These are local organizations specifically designed to connect seniors with services, including housing repair programs in your area. They will know when and how this pilot becomes available in your zip code, and they can help you get in line early. Also, look up your USDA Rural Development Office if you are in a rural or semi-rural area. They have existing repair programs that this new law builds on and expands. The bottom line, if you or someone you care about has been putting off necessary home repairs because the money just is not there, this is the moment to start making calls. Coming up next. If you have been dreaming about downsizing, but every time you try to find something smaller and affordable, there is just nothing available that makes sense, I think you are going to want to hear what is in win number 2. Okay, this one is personal for a lot of people in this audience. I hear this frustration constantly. You've got a 4-bedroom house. Maybe the kids have been gone for 15 years. You don't need all that house. You don't want to mow that lawn anymore. You want something smaller, easier, cheaper to heat and cool, and ideally, something that leaves a little money in your pocket from the sale. But here's the problem a lot of older homeowners run into. When you go looking for something smaller and more manageable in your price range, your area, near your doctors, your friends, your community, there's just nothing there. The market doesn't have it. And so you feel stuck sitting in a house that doesn't serve your life anymore, because there's nowhere logical to go. This law directly takes aim at that problem. The housing law encourages and creates financial and regulatory support for a much wider range of housing types that have historically been underbuilt in this country. We're talking about accessory dwelling units, which are small, separate living spaces on an existing property, sometimes called in-law or granny flats. We're talking about duplexes, townhouses, manufactured homes, modular homes, and the conversion of empty commercial and industrial buildings into residential housing. Let me explain why each of these matters for someone thinking about downsizing. Accessory dwelling units are fascinating because they create options in both directions. If you own a home with a large lot, you may be able to build a small ADU on your property and either move into the smaller unit yourself while renting the main house for income, or rent the ADU to generate cash flow while you stay in the main house. That kind of flexibility is genuinely life-changing for some people on fixed incomes. Manufactured and modular homes are the ones I want to spend an extra minute on, because they carry a stigma that is completely outdated. Modern manufactured and modular homes are well-built, energy efficient, and dramatically more affordable than traditional site-built homes. The new law modernizes the financing rules around these homes, raises lending loan limits, and works to reduce the barriers that have prevented builders from scaling up production. This means more supply and better financing, which translates to real options for seniors who want to downsize into something affordable without sacrificing quality. And then there's the conversion of empty buildings. You've seen them. Vacant shopping centers, old office parks, empty warehouses sitting unused in towns across the country. The law includes a pilot program to help communities turn those vacant properties into affordable housing. It also opens up publicly owned, underdeveloped land for housing development. The government owns an enormous amount of land, and now some of that is being made available for this purpose. Here's something the law also does that hasn't gotten enough attention. It tells HUD the Federal Housing Authority, to publish clear guidelines and best practices for local governments that are considering allowing more of these housing types in their communities. And it gives those local governments actual assistance in reforming their zoning codes to make it possible. Why does zoning matter to you personally? Because, in a lot of places, local zoning laws literally make it illegal to build anything other than a large, single-family home in most of the town. That's a huge reason why the supply of smaller, more affordable housing options has been so limited. This law is pushing to change that. I want to give you a realistic timeline expectation here. This kind of change, zoning reform, new construction, increased supply, does not happen overnight. Some of these benefits will take a few years to be felt at the neighborhood level, but the direction is clearly right. And for anyone who is planning ahead, this is real and meaningful progress. What should you do right now? If you are thinking about downsizing in the next 1 to 5 years, start having conversations with a HUD-approved housing counselor about your options. These conversations are free or very low cost, and they can help you understand what is going to be available in your area and what the financial picture looks like for different scenarios. We will talk more about how to access that counseling in win number 5. And speaking of options, if you're a senior who rents and you've been dealing with skyrocketing rent, or a corporate landlord who makes you feel like you have zero recourse, win 3 is for you. And it has a specific provision that honestly surprised me when I read it. All right, let's talk about renters, because this is an area where a lot of older adults feel completely powerless. And honestly, sometimes that feeling is justified because the deck has been stacked against renters in a lot of ways. Here is a situation I hear about constantly. You're a senior renting an apartment in a building that recently got bought by a large real estate investment company. Suddenly, things start changing. Maintenance requests go unanswered. Late fees appear that were never in your original lease. And when you try to push back, who are you calling? There's no local owner to knock on the door of. There's just a property management company that routes you to a call center. And behind them is a corporation with a team of lawyers and a portfolio of thousands of properties. What are you going to do? The law directly addresses this frustration, and I want to highlight the specific provision because I think it's genuinely meaningful. Large corporate landlords, and we're talking about institutional investors and corporations that own large numbers of rental properties, will now be subject to a formal complaint resource for tenants. This means that if you are a renter and you are being mistreated by a large corporate landlord, you will have a federally recognized place to file a complaint and have it taken seriously. That is new. And for people who have felt invisible in this fight, it matters. The law also focuses on preserving public and rural rental housing, which is significant because a lot of affordable rental stock has been degrading over the years and being removed from the market. The law works to slow that down and keep that housing available and habitable. The Housing Choice Voucher Program, which you might know as Section 8, is also being improved in ways that matter for seniors. Previously, certain landlords and properties were restricted from participating in the voucher program, which limited where voucher holders could live. The new law makes it easier for more landlords and more types of properties to participate. That means more options for seniors using vouchers to find housing that works for their needs, their health, and their community. And then there's something that I actually love because it's so practical and specific. The law calls for testing temperature sensors in federally assisted housing. Why does that matter? Because extreme heat and extreme cold are genuinely life-threatening for older adults, and some federally assisted housing has had serious problems with inadequate heating and cooling. Temperature sensors create accountability. If the temperature in your unit drops below or rises above a safe level, there is a record of it. That's a small thing that could save lives. Now, I want to be balanced with you here because I always want to give you the real picture. These stronger protections apply most directly to federally assisted housing, public housing, Section 8 voucher holders, HUD-subsidized properties. If you are renting a private apartment with no federal subsidy, your protections still depend heavily on your state and local tenant laws, which vary enormously. Some states have strong tenant protections. Many do not. If you are in a private rental and dealing with a difficult landlord situation, the best tools available to you right now are knowing your state's tenant rights laws, documenting everything in writing, and reaching out to a local tenant rights organization or legal aid office. Many of them offer free help. Now, let me shift gears. Because win number 4 is one that is going to matter to anyone who has a son, daughter, or grandchild who has been trying to buy a home and keeps getting priced out, and it has a very specific timeline you need to know about. Okay, I want to talk about something that is a little different from the first 3 wins, because this one is not directly about programs you can apply for. It is about fixing something that has been making the housing market harder and more expensive for regular people, including seniors who want to downsize and seniors whose kids and grandkids cannot afford to buy a home. You have probably heard about this. Over the past several years, large institutional investors, Wall Street firms, private equity funds, real estate investment companies have been buying up single-family homes by the thousands. They purchase them, rent them out, and in doing so, they remove those homes from the market for individual buyers. The result? Fewer homes available for people who want to actually live in them. More competition, higher prices, first-time buyers getting beat out on offer after offer, not by another family, but by a corporation with unlimited cash. The new law takes direct aim at this. Here is the specific provision. Any company or investment group that controls at least 350 single-family homes will generally be prohibited from purchasing additional existing homes. The restriction begins 180 days after the law was enacted. Now, I am going to be honest with you the same way that housing advocates are being honest about this. It is a step in the right direction, but it has some real limitations. First, 180 days. That means large investors have a 6-month window from enactment to keep buying before the restrictions kick in. That is too long, in my opinion, and housing advocates agree. 6 months of unrestricted buying by companies that already have massive resources is not nothing. Second, corporations will not be forced to sell the homes they already own. The law restricts future purchases, but it does not require these investors to divest their existing portfolios. So, the homes they've already snapped up, those stay in their hands. Third, there is a real risk of gaming the system. The 350 home threshold applies to a company or investment group as a single entity. So, what is to stop a large investor from restructuring, splitting their portfolio across multiple entities, each owning fewer than 350 homes? This is the kind of thing that savvy lawyers and accountants can figure out fast. Housing advocates are already flagging it, and I think Congress is going to have to come back to this provision if they start seeing that kind of workaround. I want to give Congress some credit. They recognize that institutional investors are distorting the housing market and included a provision to address it that matters. But if you are expecting home prices to drop dramatically the day this restriction kicks in, I want you to have realistic expectations. This is a break on the problem, not a reversal of it. The market will adjust slowly. What does this mean for seniors? Practically speaking, 2 things. If you are trying to downsize and move into something smaller, there will over time be less corporate competition for the lower-priced homes in your target range. And if you have adult children or grandchildren who want to buy their first home, this restriction, combined with the supply-side reforms in Win 2, is meant to gradually rebalance the market back toward individual buyers. It is a long game, but it is being played now, and that is better than not at all. Stay with me, because Win 5 is the one that pulls everything together. And if you only do one thing after watching this video, this is what I want it to be. Okay, the 5th win is actually a combination of several provisions that I am grouping together because they all point in the same direction, making it possible for seniors with lower incomes and lower budgets to actually get into housing that works for them. And the last piece of this housing counseling is the key that unlocks everything else. Let me start with something that does not get nearly enough attention: small dollar mortgages. Here is a real problem that affects a lot of older adults and people in lower-cost housing markets. You want to buy a home that costs $90,000 or $110,000. And in many parts of the country, that is a real price for a real house. You can afford the payments. You have some savings for a down payment. But lenders are not interested. Why? Because they make their money on origination fees and interest. And a $90,000 mortgage does not generate enough of either to be worth their time. So, they just do not offer them. And you get priced out of housing you could realistically afford simply because the financing system is not set up for it. This law tells HUD to establish a pilot program for mortgages of $100,000 or less, potentially including assistance with down payments, closing costs, appraisals, and title insurance for seniors who have been told implicitly or explicitly that a smaller, more affordable home is somehow out of reach because of financing barriers. This is a direct response to that injustice. Now, let's talk about manufactured home communities, because this deserves more attention than it gets. Millions of seniors live in manufactured home communities, and many of these communities have aging infrastructure that is in serious need of repair. The law includes a program that can support manufactured home communities with infrastructure improvements, home replacement, accessibility improvements, weatherization, and preservation of affordable manufactured home communities as a whole. Why does that last part matter? Because in recent years there has been a wave of developers buying manufactured home communities and either dramatically raising the lot rents or shutting them down entirely to redevelop the land. The residents, many of them elderly, many of them with modest incomes, have nowhere to go. This provision works to preserve those communities so that the people who depend on them have stability. Now, the piece I want to make sure everyone takes away from this video. The law significantly expands funding for HUD-approved housing counseling, with a specific emphasis on serving seniors and older adults. And I want to make sure you understand what that actually means in practice. A HUD-approved housing counselor is a trained professional who can sit down with you or talk with you by phone and help you understand every single one of the programs and protections we've talked about today. They can help you figure out if you qualify for the home repair pilot. They can walk you through your options for downsizing. They can help you understand your rights as a renter. They can review your financial situation and help you figure out whether that small dollar mortgage program makes sense for you. They can explain the capital gains implications of selling your home and what your options are. And here is the best part. It is free or very low cost. You can find a HUD-approved housing counselor by going to hud.gov or by calling 1-800-569-4287. Write that number down right now. And your local area agency on aging. Find yours at eldercare.acl.gov or by calling 1-800-677-1116 can connect you with local programs, local housing resources, and local advocates who know the specific landscape in your area. These are not dead-end hotlines. These are real people whose actual job is to help seniors navigate exactly this kind of thing. The programs are there, the law is there, the help is there. You just have to make the call. All right, let's bring it all together. This law, which passed with enormous bipartisan support and became law on July 1st, contains 5 major wins for older adults and seniors. Win 1. A whole home repairs pilot that can fund grab bars, ramps, wider doorways, weatherization, and health hazard removal to help you age in place safely in your own home. Win 2. More downsizing options through support for accessory dwelling units, manufactured homes, modular homes, townhouses, duplexes, building conversions, and zoning reforms, so that when you're ready to make a move, there is actually somewhere good to go. Win 3. Stronger support for senior renters, including a formal complaint resource against large corporate landlords, expanded housing choice vouchers, preservation of public and rural rental housing, and temperature sensors in federally assisted housing to protect vulnerable residents. Win 4. Restrictions on Wall Street home buying, limiting large institutional investors from purchasing additional single-family homes, and slowly but meaningfully rebalancing the market back toward individual buyers, including your children and grandchildren. Win 5. A pilot program for small-dollar mortgages under $100,000, stronger support for manufactured home communities, and massively expanded access to free or low-cost housing counseling that can help you navigate and access everything in this law. Is this law perfect? No. The 180-day delay before investor restrictions kick in is too long. The 350 home threshold has loopholes that clever investors will try to exploit, and many of the supply-side benefits will take years to be felt. Congress is going to need to revisit some of this. I'll keep you updated as that happens. But here's what I know for certain. This is the most meaningful housing legislation for older adults we have seen in years. It acknowledges the real struggles that seniors are facing in their homes, in their rental units, in the housing market, and it takes real steps to address them. The people who benefit most from this law will be the ones who know it exists and take action. So, here is your homework. Call 1-800-569-4287. To connect with a HUD-approved housing counselor, call 1-800-677-1116 to find your local area agency on aging. Tell a neighbor, a sibling, a parent, share this video because this information belongs to everyone who needs it. If this was helpful to you, please hit that subscribe button right now, because this is exactly what we do here. We find the laws, the programs, the resources that are designed to help real people. And we explain them in plain English, so you can actually use them. No jargon, no confusion, just real information you can act on, and drop a comment below. I want to know which of these 5 wins matters most to you. Are you trying to age in place? Thinking about downsizing? Dealing with a difficult landlord? Trying to help a family member? Tell me, because your comments help me know what to cover next. And if you are ready to keep learning, the video on your screen right now covers senior benefits that most people do not even know to ask for. I think you are going to find it really valuable. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.